Imagine for a moment that everything you know as reality is nothing but a surface, a thin film beneath which pulses an ancient, deep, silent truth. For centuries, seekers from all traditions have whispered about this truth, a reality that cannot be touched with hands, nor understood by the ordinary mind, a living presence, watching through your eyes right now. This presence has a name in some traditions. In Kashmir Shaivism, it is called Shiva, the pure consciousness, the silent witness of all that exists. But Shiva is not alone. Alongside him dances Shakti, the creative energy, the divine breath that transforms the invisible into form, that moves the planets, that pulses in your heart at this very moment. They are not two. They are one reality. Inseparable. How can you separate the heat from the fire or the fragrance from the flower? And yet we try to understand. We give names. We invent images, as if Shiva and Shakti were two entities having tea somewhere in the cosmos. But the truth slips away, because this union is prior to any word. It is even prior to time itself. And here is where the mystery deepens. This sacred dance that creates the entire universe also happens inside of you. It is mapped in 7 energy centers, living portals that reveal increasingly deeper layers of perception. But why 7? Why not 5 or 9? Cultures far apart, separated by oceans and millennia, arrived at the same structure. Coincidence? Or a subtle discovery made by those who dared to dive deeper than the surface of the mind? In this dive, each center reveals a state of consciousness. Each portal, a new way of seeing the world. And as you walk through this ascending spiral, you don't become someone different. You remember who you have always been. Get ready. What you are about to hear is not just spiritual theory. It is a living map. It is the detailed description of a sacred journey, one that begins in instinct and culminates in the infinite. And perhaps, just perhaps, something inside you will begin to awaken as each word touches the dormant centers of your consciousness. The journey through the 7 energy centers, according to Kashmir Shaivism, is not an escape from the world, but a deeper entry into it. It is not a ladder to the sky, but a spiral to the center of being, where heaven and earth meet. In the first center, at the base of the spine, consciousness is contracted. It perceives the world as solid matter, immersed in the demands of survival. Many dismiss this center as less spiritual. But what is a tree without roots? What is a soul that rejects the body? There is no expansion without foundation. When someone claims to be beyond basic needs, they are often denying their own fragility. The true seeker does not deny the physical. He honors it, because he knows that every cell, every heartbeat is also Shakti in action. As consciousness shifts to the second center, it opens to the element of water. The rigidity of matter dissolves into fluidity, and with it, creativity awakens. Here, boundaries soften, emotions emerge, desires dance. Those naturally attuned to this center often shine with artistic talents, seeing the invisible beneath the visible. But this brilliance also casts shadow, intense emotions, instability, confusion of boundaries. Sensitivity can turn into turmoil, and so, this center requires emotional maturity. Otherwise, creativity turns into chaos. In the third center, at the solar plexus, the flame of personal power arises. Here, consciousness begins to recognize Maya, the power to create multiplicity from unity. The world is no longer perceived as solid, but as projection, as a play of light and shadow. It is at this point that many seekers become lost, seduced by a false awakening. They access power and confuse it with enlightenment, but the ego loves to play master. How many spiritual leaders have fallen because they confused charisma with realization? This center brings valuable energy, but dangerous. It demands discernment. It demands humility. In the center of the heart, consciousness turns inward. The barrier between self and other begins to dissolve. You no longer love someone, you recognize the other as part of yourself. And this is beautiful, and terrifying, because to truly feel is to feel everything, not just joy, but also pain, not just ecstasy, but also loss. Many prefer to remain in the mind, pretending that love is a concept, but love is blood. It is tears. It is radical presence. The awakening of the heart does not take us away from humanity, it deepens us into it. In the fifth center, the throat, consciousness begins to express itself with crystalline clarity. The word ceases to be noise and becomes an arrow. Communication becomes communion. The voice carries the power of truth, and this truth does not come from the mind, but from a deeper place. Those who speak from this center do not just inform, they transform. But for this, it is necessary to silence the inner noise. Listen before speaking. Be a channel, not a character. Then, in the sixth center between the eyebrows, the third eye awakens. Vision becomes direct, intuitive, penetrating the surface and revealing the hidden patterns of existence. Here, perception widens, intuition blooms. But beware, this center is often romanticized. Everyone wants to see, but to truly see is to perceive the suffering of others. It is recognizing the invisible chains that bind them. It is carrying the responsibility to act. True vision is not spectacle, it is service. Finally, in the seventh center, at the top of the head, separation disappears. There is no longer you looking at the world. There is only consciousness, silent, present, infinite. This is not a state to be conquered. It is a recognition of what has always been, a return home, but not a home outside of you. A home that pulses now, in this moment, behind every thought, every sensation, a silence that was never born and will never die. This ascending journey is catalyzed by Kundalini Shakti, the energy sleeping at the base of the spine. When awakened, it rises up the central channel, touching and illuminating each center. This does not happen only through techniques or discipline. Sometimes it happens through deep pain, through loss, through an encounter, through a sigh. The awakening of Kundalini is unpredictable, but profoundly transformative. It disorganizes to reorganize. It destroys to reveal. It burns illusions so that the truth can emerge naked, without veils. And when this happens, you realize that you were never separate, that Shiva and Shakti were never out there. They have always danced within you. There is a critical point on the spiritual path that many avoid facing, and it's about this that we need to talk now. Spiritual materialism, this subtle trap where the search becomes a performance and experience becomes a trophy. My Kundalini rose higher than yours. How many times does this vanity game disguise itself as evolution? We live in a time where even awakening is sold in ready-made packages. Weekend workshops promise to activate your sacred energy as if teaching you to fly. But true awakening cannot be bought. It doesn't follow schedules, doesn't ask for permission, and often arrives like a silent hurricane, shaking all certainties. When Kundalini awakens, there is no way to keep the veils of the unconscious untouched. Everything that was asleep, repressed, or hidden comes to the surface. It is at this moment that many, until then confident in their spirituality, find themselves bewildered. They expected ecstasy and find chaos. They expected to float and feel the ground opening beneath them. This is where theory is humbled by practice. Involuntary movements, intense heat rising up the spine, sleepless nights, a body vibrating without explanation, and inside, a whirlwind of emotions, visions, vivid dreams, intuitions that cut like blades. and alternating states between clarity and confusion. Everything you thought you were begins to dissolve. But it's not about disorder, it's about reorganization. The system is being rebuilt to support a greater consciousness. Kashmir Shaivism understands this, not as pathology, but as purification, not as collapse, but as birth. It's the old identity, breaking apart to reveal what has always been there, unlimited consciousness. And then comes the Shaktipat, the direct transmission of energy from a master to a disciple. It can happen through a touch, a look, a word, sometimes even from a distance. It's as if a spark ignites an ancient fire within you, and the flame never goes out. But be cautious of the obsession with the perfect master. The truth is, the master can be a catalyst, but only your receptivity opens the door. The most enlightened of guides cannot awaken someone who still clings to sleep. And still, even with all the discomfort, something inside of you knows you are being reminded of who you really are. Kashmir Shaivism doesn't offer a path of purely intellectual knowledge. It offers maps for direct recognition. The Shiva meditation, which aligns the practitioner with pure consciousness. The Pratyabhijna practices, which capture the moments when consciousness expands on its own. And the Spanda practices, which refine perception to the point of feeling the subtle vibration, the very pulse of creation. Have you ever felt it? Sitting in silence. That subtle vibration, like a secret breath passing through the whole body. It's more than physiology, it's Shakti herself, alive within you. Some may laugh at this, call it fantasy or mystical delirium, but true spirituality doesn't care about convincing anyone. It reveals itself in the silent transformation of those who live it. And the most beautiful part, this path doesn't require you to flee the world. On the contrary, it invites you to dive into it with renewed eyes. Every gesture, every task, every silence, everything becomes practice. Life becomes a temple. In the beginning, there is technique. Then, there is only presence. The practice becomes nature, and the seeker discovers that they already are what they were searching for. There is an ancient vision, but eternally new. A wisdom that affirms transcendence and the world are not at war. Kashmir Shaivism does not separate spirit from matter. On the contrary, it embraces it as an expression of the very divine consciousness. Here, material existence is not an illusion to be denied, but a living manifestation of the same consciousness that pulses within us. This perspective transforms everything. It allows us to live with total intensity, but without losing ourselves. Being in the world, without confusing ourselves with it. If these words have touched something within you, let your own voice echo. Share your experiences with these subtler dimensions of consciousness. Each personal account is a key, a unique reflection of a universal pattern. When we recognize our experiences in the eyes of another, something within us is confirmed, anchored, expanded. And even those who prefer the lenses of the laboratory find echoes of this awakening. Modern research is beginning to capture the physiological traces of the sacred. Altered brainwaves in deep meditation, hormonal fluctuations, modulations in the immune system, measurable changes reflecting immeasurable states. But then the skeptic arises. It's just brain chemistry. So we ask, and what isn't? If God is merely a brain state, then love, pain, art, longing, they would all just be electrical impulses. To reduce the spirit to the brain is to forget that everything we live, even the ordinary, also passes through this same brain. Either every experience is real or none is, and to deny the mystical is to deny half of what pulses within us. But how can we distinguish delusion from enlightenment? How do we know if it is imagination or awakening? The answer does not lie in the content of the experience, but in its consequence. True awakening integrates. it stabilizes. It doesn't lead you away from life, it deepens you into it. As Shakti, the sacred energy, ascends through the subtle centers, it reconciles viewpoints. It unites heaven and earth within us. Each stage of the path expands our vision. It doesn't deny what has been learned, but shows us that there is always more. At the base center, everything seems solid. The world is a threat, the other a potential enemy, life a battle. But when the heart opens, reality changes clothes. The same world now pulses with beauty. Even pain reveals meaning. This contrast is the map of the journey. We see what we are capable of seeing, and as we ascend, the layers dissolve. At the crown center, there is no longer separation. Nothing is me or other. Everything is pure consciousness. Not as an idea, but as direct experience. Reality undresses, and the divine reveals itself not as a belief, but as presence. This process is not linear. It is a spiral. A dance between ascent and descent, between expansion and integration. Each energy center activates a new sensitivity. What was once invisible is revealed. What was limited expands. The work with Shakti is not about reaching the top. It is about illuminating all layers with a new vision. At each stage, life becomes vaster. Perception more refined. But be aware, not everything is ecstasy. The awakening of Shakti brings to the surface what was hidden, traumas, blockages, shadows. There are days of chaos, moments of emptiness, nights when the soul feels like it is burning from the inside out. But this discomfort is sacred. It is purification. It is the soul cleaning the house. Therefore, ethics is essential. Purification, practices, and the presence of a true master are beacons on this journey. True spiritual transformation does not come from isolated techniques. It does not depend on extraordinary states. It naturally blossoms as we align with what we have always been. And how do we know we are progressing? More compassion, less reactivity, spontaneous intuitions, clarity, presence. These are the signs, not fruits of effort, but of surrender. Awakening is not about seeking the extraordinary. It is about recognizing the sacred in the ordinary. It is realizing that the truth was never far, only forgotten. When consciousness expands, we do not escape life. We become more present in it, more whole, more human, more divine. The true spiritual path does not avoid suffering, it illuminates it with meaning. It does not deny matter, but consecrates it. And then you discover the divine is not in another world. It has always been here, waiting for you. In the simple, in the now, in the real. To understand this changes everything. It transforms spiritual practice from an anxious search to a silent return. We stop running after the unreachable, waiting for a future filled with light, and begin to discover the light that already resides in the now. Spirituality ceases to be a ladder to the sky and becomes a spiral inward, a reunion with what never left us. The greatest pleasure, the purest freedom, does not come from the conquest of an elevated state, but from the intimate and simple recognition we are already that which we seek. Our true identity is not a character, nor a role to play. It is the silent consciousness that gives existence to all forms, that witnesses every thought, that sustains each heartbeat. This eternal dance between Shiva and Shakti, between consciousness and energy, between the observer and the mover, is the pulse of the universe. Our spiritual awakening is not a destination, but an unveiling. It is not about conquering something new, but seeing what has always been here. It is the dissolution of the layers of illusion, of fragile identities, of inherited fears. until only what is real remains, and what is real never was born and never dies. It has always been. This recognition is the highest purpose of human life, not accumulating wealth, not conquering status, but remembering who we are and living from that. And this remembering does not isolate us. On the contrary, it connects us in an intimate and universal way, because when we touch the truth within us, we see that it is the same truth within the other. The form may be different, but the essence is one, and it is here that true compassion is born, not as a moral obligation, but as a natural reflection of the perceived unity. When we look into the eyes of another and see the same consciousness looking back, the barriers dissolve. Empathy becomes spontaneous. Love ceases to be desire and becomes presence. Spiritual awakening is not an isolated journey. It is a collective movement, an awakening of our very humanity. As more hearts awaken, as more eyes open, the collective energy of the earth begins to vibrate in harmony. Chaos gives way to clarity, separation to communion. Therefore, do not seek the extraordinary. Do not get lost in techniques, nor bind yourself to rituals. True spiritual practice is simple. It is seeing clearly. It is recognizing the obvious that the mind stubbornly ignored. See not just what is in front of you, but what looks through your eyes, the one who perceives, the one who has always been there, silent, whole, awake. And when this happens, the awakening does not need to be forced. It happens naturally, like the sun rising when the clouds dissipate, like the gentle remembrance of a home that was never left. If this journey resonated with you, if the words shared here touch something deep within your being, I invite you to reflect. How are you living your practice? How can you more deeply recognize your true nature in every moment, in every action? Let this awakening flow naturally. And remember, in every present moment, consciousness is revealing itself in all its perfection. Now, as we reach the end of this revealing expedition, I want to express my deepest gratitude to you for staying with us until the end. Your dedication and curiosity are the fuel that drives us to explore, demystify, and share these intriguing stories. I want to share something special with you. As a fan of the Map of Higher Self channel, you are about to embark on a unique journey of self-discovery and mental formation. I present to you the Map of Higher Self, a revolutionary ebook that will redefine your mental reality. As the creator of this content and leader of the Map of Higher Self channel, I'm sharing my deepest experiences and valuable lessons with you. Each chapter of this ebook is a reflection of my journey, filled with practical lessons I've lived and transformed into wisdom. Don't miss this opportunity to transform your life. Click the link in the pinned comment and start your journey towards self-knowledge and positivity today. Imagine yourself for a moment as one of the ancient explorers who ventured into unknown territories, guided only by the flame of curiosity and the thirst for knowledge. Every piece of information, every symbol deciphered, is like a map leading us deeper into the labyrinth of the unknown. And just like those explorers, you too are now a little closer to the truth, carrying with you a new understanding of the forces that shape our world. Your presence here is not just a personal achievement, but a valuable contribution to a vibrant community of curious and knowledge-seeking individuals. Every view, every comment, every like is a step we take together toward a deeper and collective understanding. You are not just a spectator, you are a partner in this journey of discovery. So, as we close this chapter, I invite you to reflect on today's revelations and prepare for the next steps. We will continue unraveling secrets, questioning established truths, and exploring the mysteries around us. Your participation is essential, not just for the growth of this channel, but for the expansion of our horizon of knowledge. Until the next discovery. And remember, the real power lies in questioning and understanding what is beyond the visible. And before you go, don't miss these 2 videos I've selected especially for you. They're packed with deep knowledge and fascinating discoveries that you'll love. Click on one of them and continue your journey of self-discovery and the pursuit of wisdom with the amazing content our channel has to offer.